topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the host and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Inarticulate speech, inarticulate speech of the heart. Inarticulate speech, inarticulate speech of the heart. Inarticulate speech, inarticulate speech of the heart.
Hello, and welcome to It's Your Voice, the show that hosts enriching conversations in diversity. My name is Bahia Yaxon. I'm a core alignment coach and a diversity educator, which means I support people and organizations in aligning their actions with their values. If you're interested in seeing classes or coaching programs I offer, you can find them on my website, which is knowwhatyouwantcoaching.wordpress.com. Today, I have a wonderful guest who has a tremendous heart and has volunteered for years. And Miss Naomi Davis, we want to come out here, and while I read your, I want to just read a little bit of background. I know there's so much more to you, but that way people can see your beautiful face. Those who are on camera, some people, of course, are listening on the radio, but she's here to talk about the title of the show is Black Student Unions Make a Powerful Impact, and she is a big example of why her leadership. Ms. Naomi Davis grew up in the city of Davis, California, which meant that she had to attend primarily white schools and, unfortunately, endure mistreatment that no one should ever have to. She was one of only 4 students who were Black in elementary school, one of only 7 in junior high, and one of only 15 in high school. As a young adult, she returned to work at an elementary school and a junior high school with her great empathetic heart, knowing from her own experiences that she could make a difference, and gave support to a lot of different people, a lot of different kinds of students, academic, emotional, moral support. And she has volunteered for 21 years. Her time in leadership and big heart and her amazing cookies, also known as the Cookie Lady, that she shares generously with so many students. And I know you've impacted so many people positively, encouraging them, cheering them on, educating students, parents, educators, and teaching people what it's like to have to navigate a predominantly white system when you're seen as a minority. And you also help foster allyships and lasting friendships between Black, white, brown students of all backgrounds, into becoming allies, because you create such an atmosphere of belonging. And I've just witnessed it anytime I've been in the same room as you. It's just a beautiful energy that you share. And thank you so much for sharing some of your time today.
Oh yeah, no, thank you. Thank you for having me.
I wanted to add that you have an associate's degree in child development, and you have a BA in ethnic studies.
Yes.
So that's congratulations. That's
Thank you.
just a fascinating. Yeah. And can I ask what you plan to do with your ethnic studies degree and background now?
Continue learning more and educating in any way I can. I think it's just kind of nice to have these teachable moments wherever you're at, Safeway, the library, talking to somebody at the doctor's office, where you have more empathy and understanding of different cultures and their beliefs and why they come to certain ideas about, things in America.
Boy, wouldn't that be nice if
Yeah.
we all had the same background that now,
Yeah.
Imagine what level of empathy and relationships we would have if we all had the same information about different cultures, our history,
Exactly.
everybody's history.
Right. Exactly.
Wow.
So a little bit about my history.
Yes,
I wasn't
please.
sure I could start with that. So a little bit about my history. My father, Elijah Davis, is a Vietnam vet. He was a sharecropper until he was 12 years old. And so my grandmother was a slave. I'm sorry, my great grandmother was a slave. And so my father came to California, was attending college in Los Angeles, had to drop out due to some financial situations. And in that time, if you were not going to school, you were drafted immediately. So the moment that he stopped going to school, his number called up and he was sent to Vietnam. He spent 2 years in Walter Reed Hospital due to a shot in his face. But my dad, what he's known for is being, he had political influence. So my dad could see things that were wrong in Vietnam, and he, called the president and wrote, lots of letters. And so on his file, it's political influence. So that's a little bit part of where I get from my dad. And my mother is born and raised in London. The first, Jamaican. So my grandparents were Jamaican. So she was the firstborn being born in London. And she was definitely for Black pride and knowing cultures and just loving everybody at any kind of level that they are. My mom spoke 3 languages, sign language. She did sign language, Cantonese, Spanish, and French. So that is just a bit about, how I was raised and why I started doing what I do and seeing the importance of it. Coming back to me, do I just talk or do you?
Yeah,
so.
yes.
So that's just kind of, my DNA is really two strong parents that didn't conform to the system and had a voice and used it. So coming to me, I was, born and raised in Davis. My first school was actually Fruit Ridge Elementary School, and that was in Sacramento, and it's considered a hood school or a lower economic school. It's recently closed. So that was my first interaction with school. Then we came to Davis, and we are one of 5. And I'm still in contact with all 5 of us. I know it was a very challenging time for our parents and as young kids, but we didn't have the voice to kind of say, hey, we're different, even though we knew we were being treated differently. So when we heard our parents kind of talk about certain things, then it gave us an environment to say, okay, something's not right. Bring it to, so that was elementary. And then junior high, you kind of stopped seeing the parent involvement. And I think that parents thought that we were okay in this environment, not really understanding that kids change. They're hearing things about African Americans, Mexican Americans, what's in the TV. And our era was Malcolm X. So we wore these golden little medallions. And a big thing that I noticed at Emerson, 7th grade, was various races could wear the medallions, but then we wore the medallions. They were considered gangster, and we were, causing a commotion at Emerson Junior High School. That's when parents got involved. And my dad's like, you wear whatever you want to wear. Miss Jackie, she's someone who raised her kids in Davis. She's done BSU in 1989, I believe. So those are just kind of small things where we ran to our parents. We had a kind of community to kind of talk about stuff, but we still didn't have a safe space in our own environment without parents, without running to the teachers or our staff or our parents when there was trouble. So that was, a little bit about that.
The other day when we were talking, you mentioned the scripts,
Yes.
like 3 very strong stereotypes that Black and brown people were supposed to fit in, or like cast as being. Yeah. Can you share what those were and how that impacted you and others, and how it still impacts people?
Yes. And I didn't hear about the term script until I was in my 25 years old. And it was a teacher actually at the high school. I cannot think of his name right now. He was there, I think, 4 years. And he told, us minority parents, the script is this: either athlete, nerd, or troublemaker. There was kind of no in between. And so speaking for my own family, what I've seen and what I experienced, my brother was the athlete. He was a safe guy. My sister Even though we had a little run-ins, she was the smart one. And then I went to the script as a troublemaker, as a person that kind of made, I call them special choices. But yeah, so the script that we fell into was what they wanted us to fall into. Unknowingly, I don't think they're saying, hey, I think it's subconsciously, that's where we put, Black and brown kids.
It's an ingrained pattern.
Yeah.
Ingrained patterns that we're trying to uproot.
Right. Which is hard.
Yeah.
Which is hard.
Really hard. And what is it? What was it like when you went back? When were you in your early 20s when you went to be a paraeducator at one of the schools that you actually had attended as a student? How did that feel?
That's the thing. I actually worked at Patwin Elementary School when I was still in high school because I was homeschooled. So I was a campus supervisor during lunch. And that was different too, because I'm seeing these kids, and I hate to say it, but the Black and brown kids love to see me. And I'm only there an hour. And it made me think about all the Black staff that I had, and I can say their names right now, that I saw at these schools and how impactful that was. But I started off there. Then I worked at the Children's Center when it was on B Street. And I worked there substituting for a year and a half. And then I had my daughter and I was a preschool teacher, then became a paraeducator. Yeah. Then I was a director of a preschool. And then I moved to Washington, Georgia, and I was a director of a preschool there too. So yeah, then came back and worked in a Jewish preschool. So
you've been an educator all along.
I've been an educator. In each job, I've noticed when I was a preschool teacher, I had the need to say, okay, we're doing Zumba, or we're doing this dance from this culture. That was just my passion, my drive, and it kind of came out naturally. And then when I think of even volunteering at my kids' school, it was always ethnic based, trying to teach these kids something different about my culture or somebody else's culture. And then bring it to Emerson. I was fortunate to work with credible students, and we had a fusion step team, and we had maybe 45 kids, and they came from all backgrounds, but majority were Black and brown. And it was impactful for me because I could tell these kids needed this extra space, and we're just stomping, we're just making music with our body. But these are kids who might not have had grades to, play basketball. These are kids whose parents were like, no, you have to come home, but we trust you with Miss Naomi. So they kind of got that social aspect and just hanging around with just great group of kids. And to this day, I still talk with them, and they still say how impactful it was for them to participate in junior high. Then we moved to the high school, and those kids are still there. And that's where the BSU has, flourished throughout the years. So I've been doing it 9 years consecutively at the high school. So yeah.
So what are some of the ways that you can see, like you can recognize, because you know what it's like to have representation because it was so rare, right? And meaningful when someone looked like you, who was in like an educator or a higher position, or an teacher type position. So what do you see? How do you see the kids responding to you and feeling the kids who are Black and brown? And I know the white, because you do a lot of fostering relationships across whatever you want to call it, the constructs of races or skin colors.
Right. Well, I think I definitely want to say this. We definitely have white kids, non-melanated kids in our BSU. And one thing about Davis is this: a lot of these kids, melanated, non-melanated, have hung out a long time, from first grade to seventh grade to ninth grade. But when they get to the high school, there's that divide where they kind of, the whites hang out with the whites, the Blacks kind of go, hang out with the Blacks. It's been like that for years. So when I see these white kids coming with their Black friends, that warms my heart, because that's saying, I want to know more about you, or I'm comfortable around you, or I want to come to these events because you are my friend. And so that's one thing I definitely enjoy, and we're learning from them. We had an activity, and I think it was um, my mom would or my dad would, and so we're talking about grades, and these kids are like, oh, if you bring a bad grade, what would your parents say? And these kids are like, oh, I'd get disciplined. And this white girl was like, I get disciplined too. And the whole classroom was like, wait a minute, you don't get disciplined. And it was nice to see both these kids having like this commonality and not really understanding they really had this. Like, our parents are raising us the same way. And that was a really good moment that I remember like it was yesterday, that they had these small little, just interactions that will last a long time. And then I think too, there was another part of your question. I'm sorry. I can't remember.
Oh, that's okay. I tend to wrap 3 questions into one.
Okay.
You could just follow where you want to go. Follow your own lead.
So yeah, a lot of kids, going back to the different, non-melanated, melanated kids, I definitely see it beneficial. I definitely see it beneficial for teachers to come in to BSU and kind of see what your students are talking about, or what your students might be going through, or their perspective on certain things. And I think the high school for a while has been doing a good job about having teachers kind of come in. Principals definitely had their presence known, and I felt like they got a lot of feedback from just kind of being a fly on the wall. They didn't see when the principal came in, there was no like, oh, Mr. McHale's here. It was nothing like that. I was okay, Mr. McHale's here. He's in the back. So that's what I really enjoyed about BSU, and making those connections with the staff, with the kids, with the teachers.
That is so great, because it doesn't naturally happen yet. Like, do you find?
It doesn't naturally happen. I think there's a select amount of teachers that can really get the kids or understand the kids. I was talking to Kate Snow. This is 3 years ago. And she was like, you don't really think that some of these kids, it may take them a while to kind of decompress during first, second, or third period, because they might have been taking 2 buses to get to school. They might have had to hear the pressures of whatever's going on in their home life, and then right in first period, go back to student. And it's kind of like, I wonder if teachers knew that they could have more empathy, not saying, hey, we're going to let you sleep in our floor, but figuring out how it's going to work and understanding that some kids don't have the traditional lifestyle, especially in Davis. I had a traditional lifestyle. My mother lived in Sacramento. We took the bus from West Sacramento to WDE Elementary School. I think there was one teacher that was like, oh, wait a minute, this is not, you shouldn't be doing this. And, actions was taken. But there's several kids that we just don't know about that are affected by this. So some of the teachers, there has to be some kind of communication with the teachers or with the kids themselves, saying, hey, Mr. Macbeth, you know how my situation is. I'm tired today. Can I get a pass on this assignment, or can I get more time? Or let me come in the back and have my hood on, have some ear pods on so I can kind of relax. So that's one thing I've noticed.
It takes, I was just thinking about, and feel free to comment on this as much as you want. But because of BSUs, things come to my attention that I would not otherwise know about. And it feels like the adults in the room at Black Student Unions have been able to form, and that I'm aware of, at least two different schools. They really trust the adults who attend and who are there and who are present week after week after week after week after week. And then those teachers or adults or parents, because I think you volunteer as a parent, a community member, you're entrusted.
Right.
So so you hear probably a lot more about the realities that Black
Right.
and brown students experience that non-white people or non-attending people who are not there showing, hey, look, I'm here and I want to know and I
Right.
want to listen, but let you set the agenda.
Right.
Can you kind of expound on like sometimes it feels like two different universes. I know that sounds extreme. That's like a big, but it just feels like a different world
Yes, I agree.
sometimes.
I think with BSU, especially the moms of BSU or the teachers of BSU, we're noticing these kids and we're noticing different kind of patterns. Okay, I haven't seen you in a while. I'm going to try to find you. I think kids need check-ins. I don't care if you're 18 or 12 or 4 years old. Kids need to say, "Hey, I see you. How are you doing?" And I noticed that in BSU, there's a lot of that. We try to do 10 minutes of just kind of checking in. We'll sit down with the kids and talk about random things. We hear about kids' concerts and who's trying to be a rapper and who's, just had a camping trip with their um, church group. We also hear about, divorces and deaths, which is, heartbreaking. But as a group, I definitely feel that kids feel safe to say stuff after a while. We had an exercise a couple years ago, and it was talking about when to speak up, when's a good time to speak up. And this one girl I had for years, and then she's like, when I had to tell, my mom, when I had to tell the police that my mom was in an abusive relationship. And for her to say that in our environment, and then you could see her breaking down and crying, it's like, we've given you that space. We've given you that space. And that was just, there's several powerful moments that I've seen in BSU. This year, we had an incident where um, the family was going through some hard times, and the mother had to leave Davis rather
Mm,
quickly. So we were able to kind of give her the resources to
mm,
get her out of Davis. And she literally had 75 cents to her name. And it was 3 phone calls, and we were able to get 2 gift cards and some cash for her. And she still checked in. She's doing well. The kids are doing well. They miss BSU. I say I'm gonna mail them
mm.
cookies. But it's things like that that we're able to kind of not grasp, but hear about and try to help without embarrassing you, without embarrassing your parents. So that's one thing I've noticed, that we've got a lot of feedback from parents saying, "Hey, I would have known about this," or "Can you find out about this? Because I don't know who to talk to." So it's maybe a small community within a community, really helping each other out.
That's fantastic to be a resource for whole families,
Yes,
not just a lunch meeting once a week with the students, but like hearing what's going on in their lives
right,
and gathering support in a non-judgmental, just embracing, loving way.
right. And that's what we try. I think we provide that.
I think you do too. Well, I don't know if do you feel like talking about some of the struggles that are happening on campuses that I'm a little bit privy to, um, because I do attend some like Black Student Union meetings. Um,
Right. So I think, we're struggling with the N word, and that's kind of prevalent on campus. I think in BSU, I it's 50-50. Some kids, there's definitely a dialect about it, but I think some kids are like, hey, it's part of our culture. It's a losing battle. Why are we doing it? But I feel as though there's a lot more kids that the word feels uncomfortable. They just don't feel comfortable saying no. And you have a small percentage of kids are saying, hey, no, I don't agree with it. I don't agree with it. But I think they're being outnumbered. So, but yeah, it's prevalent in the school, which is you can't go on campus without seeing it. And I'm an adult, so I'm like, hey guys, around me, you give me the respect. You can't say that word. If you're at a job interview, you can turn that word off. If you're around with your grandmother at church, you can turn that word off. So around adults and me who feels uncomfortable with that word, turn it off.
And the 50-50 you were talking about was about 50% of the students are saying we should just, I don't ever want to hear that word. We should try to ban it. We should make policy, right? And the other 50 is like,
Yeah,
it's what are we going to do? It's out here. It's in the world.
right,
What if we want to use
right,
it sometimes in some contexts?
right. Or the non-believers that things aren't going to change. And bring it back to BSU, there was a clothing policy where you could not wear bandanas, and the non-melanated kids were wearing bandanas and not being asked to take it off. And so we had a student that was asked to take it off. He came to BSU. They planned a protest wearing all their bandanas. The principal at the time, I think he was like, hey, whatever you guys need for the protest. But this group was able to change clothing policy that had been in effect for so many years by one person telling their family and the family reacting in a peaceful way, saying this isn't okay. We're going to, wear bandanas. We're going to protest. We're going to write something to, the board. We're going to attend these board meetings. Kate Snow is always wonderful about getting things done for BSU, but that's one thing where kids, if you open your mouth, we can change things, big or small.
That's such a positive message. And she's a climate
Coordinator.
School climate coordinator.
Yes. And she's just, Davis School District is blessed to have her.
Yeah.
Really, I've learned so much from her about just very, very good. Any issues, made things happen. She attends majority of the BSU meetings, offering up information, just taking stuff in, always trying to provide a solution. So that's one thing I've noticed is that we are supported. Can we be supported more? Yes. But for a lot of BSUs that I've talked to, we're definitely more supported when it comes to Kate Snow, Matt Bess, Kamika, the community, just a lot of support.
She's very responsive, and I'm really glad to hear that you feel the same way. You feel the support. Yes. She's a tremendous advocate and resource finder.
Right.
And Kamika Edwards is phenomenal. What a phenomenal human being. She has a new last name.
Oh. I'm not going to butcher it, so I'll just say Miss
Kamika. Miss Kamika definitely deserves a huge shout out.
Yes, I think my first year working with her, I think I told her, I said, if I had a counselor or someone like you and many more students, our outcome would have been a lot different. Our outcome would have been just a lot different. I think I did not have any Black teachers at all. I'm sorry, Mr. Brothers was our PE teacher, but I didn't have any Black teachers, no Black principals, nobody to kind of really identify with or to say, hey, what's really kind of going on. Dino is a campus supervisor. And when I was making my fun choices, he was someone that was like, hey, you know better. You weren't raised this way. But that was, and, I think when it comes to Black staff, sometimes the school looks at them to solve a lot of problems with our melanated babies, but not solve them and show favoritism. And Dino definitely went out of his way to kind of check on me, talk to me on a level that I understood. But we need more staff like that. And you don't have to be Black or brown. You have to just be educated in that or have empathy for that. For a change.
Yeah, have a big heart.
Yeah. And just learning. When I went back to work at Emerson and I was 24, maybe I'm getting my ages wrong. An employee there was talking my first day, and he walked me out. And he was just like, "Oh, I'm so sorry about what happened and how we treated you, so many years ago." And I was thinking to myself, I'm like, "Okay, I know what you're talking about." And we didn't know how to handle you. You were just so powerful with your words. We just didn't know how to, at that time, we just didn't know how to handle you. And to be honest, they were trying to expel me from the school because I made fun choices. And during the hearing, both my mom and my dad, freedom fighters and will definitely speak up for their kids, was reading this report saying, "That's not true." And I remember telling my dad, "Dad, that's not true." And I kept saying, "Dad, over, that's not true. That's not true." And that moment stuck with me because I felt disappointed. I felt disappointed. And I knew that I was completely lied on. And at that 14, 15, yes, I made some fun choices. But I think for an adult to say whatever to get a student out was damaging. So when I came back and, that employee spoke to me and said, oh, how bad they felt, I felt good about that. I went through that. I felt good that they won't do that again. Or maybe they've gotten educated on how to handle melanated kids who come from a different environment, who I was considered more grown or more mature. That doesn't mean anything. You could be 5'10" and still. So I think we've definitely kind of stopped that kind of bullying behavior. Someone's 5'10" doesn't mean they're a bully. Someone talks this way doesn't mean they're a bully. Someone wearing African clothing doesn't mean they're a bully or they're looking for a fight. They're just prideful of their heritage. Talking to students about, if you say the N-word to me, we're not threatening. We're speaking up for ourselves and we're saying our feelings matter. So I think I definitely have seen a change in how teachers are talking to students. I definitely see teachers trying to understand more, but it's still long way to go. Long way to go.
And sadly, sad enough that it's in Davis, but sadly not unique to Davis. We know it's all over the country and parts of the world.
But I think what it's hard in Davis is that we're supposed to be the, liberal, and everybody's supposed to love each other. And then I think too, people don't realize that Black and brown kids really do go to this school. We're not just a sprinkle, and that we are smart, and that we do want to be part of the community. When I'm trying to get speakers to come to Davis, there's Black kids in Davis. And I'm like, yes, and we need it the most. We need to see your faces. We need to hear your stories of what college you went to, why you went to college, or whatever struggles you went through, because the same struggles that you experienced, our kids might be experiencing just in Davis with no voice, with nobody saying, hey, we hear you and we can help you. I know I graduated in 98, and my friend Leah Burrows, who actually was a part of the Crown Act, the legislation of making sure that you can wear your natural hair. I'm saying it wrong, but she was a part of that, Davis High graduate. And their year, they had the Black fraternities coming to the high school for their BSU and mentoring them. And I want to say, out of the 6 girls that were part of BSU, every single one went straight to college. Every single one is successful in their own right. And I looked up to them. I watched them like, oh, that's cool. I want to be a part of that. But with BSUs, we've got our good years and our slow years. And so that was a really good year. And we dipped down to our slow year. But BSU has produced a lot of talent. We've got a lot of kids that have gone up to really good schools and have done tremendous things. And my joke is, what do you want to do? I don't care if you want to be a pilot, if you want to be a plumber, a lawyer. Miss Naomi needs a lawyer. I need a pilot. Don't have a doctor just yet. And I really do count on these kids. I will text them and say, hey, are you still doing the music? I need you to do this for me. I have a student now, and she's 30, maybe she's 28, and she works at a hotel. And so I get her discount. It's just, I'll bake cookies for your baby shower. With a discount. I've also had kids that had babies, and I've been in the room with them when they've had their babies. I've been
Wow.
to weddings, graduations, unfortunately, deaths of one of my young students, which was pretty traumatic because I felt like BSU could have helped more with educating our kids on abuse,
Mm,
educating our kids on, interacting with our partners and being safe. And those are
mm,
discussions that should be discussed because Black and Brown are in that highest percentage of, getting certain diseases or sicknesses or abusive
mm.
relationships. And I that stuck with me as well. Just like, oh, we could have said more. We should have said more. But I've also had kids call me back and say, Miss Naomi, I've learned so much. I understand now what you were saying, why you were saying it. So that's been good. The highs and lows have definitely been really good with BSU. Definitely learning every single day, learning from the kids. Kids are learning from the community. I'm hoping the community is learning from the kids. We try to be out there volunteering. We do Toys for Tots every year.
Hmm.
Thanksgiving, we're passing out turkey dinners, and we were the only kids doing it. And I'm like, kids, once again,
Mm.
a lot of these people that are getting these meals are Black and Brown. Wouldn't it be nice for them to see us and greeting them in a nice way and just giving them a little bit of hope and a little bit of smiles? So that's one thing we focus on when we do our community services. Black and Brown, make your faces known. We're not doing it for points or to sign off on it. You're doing it because get in the community. We can end it that way. So just, get in the community, show your face, show that you're positive kids and not athletes, thugs, or nerds.
That's such an important character development is to volunteer for your community.
Yeah.
You know, I I wish that for all kids to have the experience, have some guidance and modeling and leadership of like what volunteering means in your community. It's so empowering. It
Right.
teaches you so much. It teaches you like helps you um it puts you in a different position when you are volunteering to lift someone else up.
Yes.
That's
Just for
wonderful. That y'all-
yeah. Just for that moment. I have two kids. My son is 23. He's graduating from University of Oregon this year, and he's economics. And my daughter was at Syracuse University. And from a young age, we baked cookies for the homeless, or we were assembling bags for homeless. We're ex-military, and we're making packages for to send overseas. It's important. And last year, we were handing out cookies, and I don't we don't like to do it traditionally, like, oh, we're dropping it off at this facility. We like to just be in the streets and Skid Row, here are your cookies. We do it safely but quickly. And last year, a gentleman was like, hey, are you close to graduating to my son? And, that brought us to tears because it's like, we've been doing this for several years, but he was encouraging you in his way and he was asking about you. And that was just a powerful moment. And when I hear BSU kids saying, wow, looking at these clothes that we're going through, these old shoes, and realizing that people need these shoes. This shoe without a shoelace, they can just kind of figure it out and they'll, MacGyver it and get it together. We had a woman who had a shopping cart with no wheels, but she had something else tied to it. And these kids are like, that's pretty genius. She had to get her food and she figured it out. She didn't have a car. She couldn't just go to Safeway. She couldn't Instacart it, but she was hungry. She had the drive to do it. She figured it out and she got her, got her groceries. But it was nice to hear the kids see that, for the kids to say, okay, we're going to make packages for the homeless. BSU has done hoodies for the homeless.
Mm,
And hey, kids,
fantastic.
yeah, we've all done, the sports and what's the soccer team? The various soccer teams we've got in Davis, the hoodies you have to buy every year. Go in your closet, grab a hoodie, we give it to the homeless. And so a couple of years we were able to give it to a shelter. It was a teen shelter in Sacramento, and that was beneficial. Last year we got bags together, toothbrushes, toothpaste, I think socks, women's items, and we donated that to a shelter in Davis. And that was nice because we had these boys and these girls like, we're packing this stuff. And it's like, yeah, mommy and daddy aren't buying that. These are shaver, they need that. Socks, they need that. A can opener, yes, to open their food. So it's just small things I think they're taking with them in the community. And the community has treated us, pretty well thus far. We've definitely got a lot of love. There was only one incident that took place last year during our homecoming parade. And this is out of all the years I've participated in BSU, this is our first year. We had a truck, we had two motorcycles in the front, two prior parents, and somebody yelled, I think we were saying Black Power or something, somebody yelled at a derogatory term. And it was nice because businesses were saying, hey, wait, and it was a business that made this comment. Businesses supported BSU and said, hey, that's not right. I believe they called the company and said, hey, we heard this. That's where the community support and the love we received. And it was great to know that they noticed it and they made action. I think it was Armadillo Music was one of them. I think there's another business that just really had our back. And then this year we had, Mr. Best, the superintendent. He let us use his truck. So we had a bigger and better float with, the balloons and the music, and our presence is known in a positive way. We handed out teddy bears with little ribbons that said something positive on them. Of course, the candies and the stickers. So that was just great, making our faces known in the community, knowing the community that these kids are going to graduate and they may stay here in Davis. They may want to buy a home in Davis. They're going to be your neighbors, your employers possibly, your employees possibly, and we're good people. We're good kids. So that's one thing I definitely like about BSU and the goals that I want in BSU and that I've seen actually happen.
Wow, those are like beautiful little snapshots. It's amazing all of the different ways you connect people to people and build
Yes.
relationships and spread the love, and just without saying it, just totally dispel stereotypes.
Yes.
And people are creating conversations that might not happen or might not happen now. Wow, increasing
But I've also,
understanding. Go
I was
ahead.
gonna say, I've also noticed too, our allies that come to our meetings or they interact with our families or our events, when they leave and go off to college, they can be in an environment where they have more empathy. And we're going to have teachers, we're going to have doctors, and they're going to say, I sat in this BSU. And I remember the discussion when we talked about women and the mortality health when it comes to pregnancies. We've talked about certain things. It's going to kind of click. So that's sometimes my goal for BSU always is teachable moment. We're teaching you in a positive way, the negative way. When you walk in, you can't close your ears. So you're going to hear something. You're going to get pizza and a cookie, and you can't close your ears to something positive or negative, but you're going to learn a lesson. So, and then we talk about not having enough Black teachers. And we keep on hearing these BSU kids saying, oh, we need Black teachers. And I say it every year, who's going to come back? And it's always quiet. Come back. So I know we have one student, I think he's coming back next year, and he's a product of Davis. And I believe he's going to be a math teacher. And he might be the only student out of 21 years that I've known that has come back and is going to make a huge impact. I just can't wait,
Wow.
in the Davis schools. And as a math teacher, hopefully.
Wow. Wow, that's fantastic. And I'm sure you get a lot of credit for that.
No, this is all his mom. This is all his. Yeah, I wish.
Okay.
Yeah, I wish.
That's
I know
fantastic.
that's
But
it.
that's just beautiful. I mean, also that you challenge them and you say, well, how about you come back and be a teacher here? Understanding, and they know that how difficult that would be. for them
Right.
and why it's only one in the 21 years you've been doing this. And I've been lucky enough to be able to attend 2 different of the Black graduations, and boy, what a beautiful, like, so much, like, honoring of each student and ceremony and honoring ancestors, and it's so rich and full of love and support and so much I want to say so much more um, than what we think of as like standard typical school graduations. I've only been around predominantly white school
Yeah.
graduations, but what a incredibly warm, like, boy, I see the students sent off with love. Like they're not just wrapped again with love, if, as they're graduating, thanks to
Yes.
BSU.
Yes, and the thing is this, it's Jan Murray Garcia actually. My son had to be in kindergarten, and I'm pretty sure she had graduations probably prior to that. I just can't remember. And she had graduations for all the Black kids. So if you graduate from kindergarten, first grade, second grade, third grade, fourth grade, and my son
Beautiful.
and daughter were so excited for it. Just like, oh, I graduated. Like there was like a sticker book, and I remember that. I just really remember that. And so, and I remember my mom. The kids wore the stoles. We provide the stoles, and my
Yeah.
mom is the one who got my brother and my cousin that. And my cousin, he graduated in 90, I think it's 91, and he's one of the first ones wearing those stoles. And then we had parents sewing the stoles for these kids to kind of give them that send off. When I had a student that passed away, a stole was made for him and
Mm,
wrapped in that love. And so it's
mm.
just, we need it from every age. BSU's more, it's more than just pizza, cookies, and kids hanging out in a room.
Oh,
It- it's bigger than that.
it's so much. It's such a form of loving education in a
Yes,
way that's so digestible and
yes,
desired. And
yes.
I'll just my daughter was a member of the Black Student Union at her high school, and she was given one of those beautiful stoles. It's still up on our wall, which we're not taking that down. It's so gorgeous. It's, it's in the other room. Um, and also, so teaching all the other students living Kwanzaa principles, not just like one day here's a Kwanzaa thing, but like elaborate education for the whole student body. At
Yes,
at that same junior high campus,
yeah.
Emerson, Da Vinci, just offering and giving so much to everyone there. And I believe we are at our wrap up moment. So I want to give you an opportunity to share any kind of closing thoughts or suggestions, or if you want to share any contact information. No pressure, but you can. If you type it in the chat, our wonderful engineer Rebel can make a banner that can go across the stream for the last minute or two.
Oh,
If you
I
want that,
don't need to type in
okay.
there.
You got
But
plenty. You got plenty to do.
yeah. I think just in closing, I'm thankful for this opportunity to be able to work with the youth, work in this environment that's predominantly white, and to kind of let these kids know, Black, brown, whoever, you have a space and that you're loved. I'm thankful for the community for allowing us to offer this space to, Black and brown students. What I'd want is more support. Is more support meaning checking in our meetings. We have times where we need gift cards or poster papers so we can advocate more for the community. And I think sometimes people forget that we don't start off with that. We definitely need more guest speakers and just certain things. If you see BSU, it's a loving environment. Black kids do exist in Davis. I'm a product of one. I raised my kids in Davis. My sister, my brother, we're all graduates, UCLA graduate. My sister went to UC Davis. So we do come back to Davis. We want to come back to Davis. We want to raise our kids in Davis. And BSU was the main reasons why we came back. BSU is the main reason why I continue fighting for BSU. I'm glad that we have BSUs at Harper, Emerson, Da Vinci, and the high school. And so, yeah, in closing, BSU is the way to go. We all need our own little space. Love and support.
Thank you so much, Ms. Naomi Davis, and more support for BSU all around.
Yeah.
I want to echo that. And I want to thank our engineer, Rebel, and our producer, Dean, and all the listeners and viewers. And please share this love when you see this link, pass it around. And we'll see all of you who listen and tune in next Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Time on Talk4TV and W4CY.com. And thank you again, Miss Naomi Davis. May we all have enriching conversation.
Thank you.
Inarticulate speech, inarticulate speech of the heart. Inarticulate speech, inarticulate speech of the heart. Inarticulate speech.